Let's hit some news here, Ken, in the NBA. And if we get to some win totals, we will. And if not, we'll do them tomorrow. Giannis Antetokounmpo, if you're watching the All-Star game, only played for like a minute, took himself out with his wrist injury. Giannis flying to New York as opposed to Milwaukee to get a second opinion on his wrist. And there was a lot of concern about it, right? So it is officially being called the injury to Giannis, quote, a sprained ligament in his right wrist. And apparently this is just a pain management thing for Giannis, so he's going to return to the lineup basically like once the pain subsides and he feels like he's good to go. You would imagine he'll be out for at least a couple of games, right? And he's not going to come back unless he feels totally right, because for Milwaukee, like, it's not about Giannis winning MVP or winning a ton of regular season games. It's obviously about winning an NBA championship. Now, obviously everyone knows that he's one of the most, if not the most important player in the league to his team. 32, 12, and 5, his stats for the year. Pretty good. Ken, Milwaukee plus 550 to win the NBA title, plus 185 to win the East, and our show sponsor, BetMGM, and minus 1,000 to win the Central Division. Is there a way to either take a shot at Milwaukee or bet on Milwaukee while Giannis is out until he comes back? Is there anything you're looking to do here with the Bucks? And if the answer is no, that is acceptable also, but figure we should at least have the conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the short answer is I don't think so. But I think this is a really good example of something that we try to do on the show sometimes, or just like show people that this can be a fun part of betting. When there seems to be smoke around something maybe being a thing, to think about like all the markets that are impacted by what if this is the worst case scenario, whatever it is. And the one that we obviously did on the show, I think he clips it and we run it on the show sometimes. I think I saw it, was the one with Jalen Hurts against the Cowboys, right? Where like the point spread is moving towards Dallas. Like, depending on kind of like where you were on the chain of information, everybody starts to hear that this might be like a significant injury, not just that he could be out that week against Dallas, but multiple weeks. And once you think that that's possible, it's like a really fun exercise to play out. We had Doug come on earlier, be like, grab the legal pad and write down the NBA 4-minute intervals. I mean, this would be just another like pen and paper. Like, what are some markets that are impacted by Jalen Hurts missing a game? Okay, well, like we can, and you would have come up with like 10 right away to varying degrees of how much the market would have changed. Okay, well, like here was another potential one yesterday. And this was one you could have been on earlier because he got hurt very obviously in the game before the All-Star break. Like, this was not a mystery that this was going to happen. That's why it was a little puzzling. Like, a lot of people were so shocked that maybe it was like that he played the All-Star game, but played one possession. So the manner in which he dismissed himself from the All-Star game was puzzling. Like, why play even? I think it was pretty obvious, just like he was the captain and he made a bunch of the draft picks and like he was only going to play one possession because he was hurt. A lot of people were like, oh, like I bet MVP and I want a refund, or like I bet his points over, and be like, well, he was hurt. Was hurt the game before. Like, this is a very likely. There's always one guy in the All-Star game. Sometimes you don't know who it is. But I remember 2 years ago, I forget who I was talking to, and somebody goes like, hey, like I think I have information because I knew somebody in the players camp, whatever. This guy's not going to play. Like, he's going to play a minute. So he's going to play to get the stat, like that he played in the game. He's going to take a shot, whatever. He's not playing more than like a minute. Like, this is going to be a thing. And it was true. The guy ended up, I won't even say who it was, ended up playing like a minute in the All-Star game. And if you bet his unders, wherever you could find them, you won. And there's always one guy, and it was Giannis this time. But it just seemed like this was always, so the point anyway, to get back around to what we were talking about with the Jalen Hurts thing. Okay, it seems like it might be a thing. Make the list. What's affected? I was in an NBA chat with a bunch of people, some people we have on the show, and we were all doing this. We were like, all right, this was yesterday morning. It's like, all right, let's say he's out until the start of the playoffs. We played it out two ways, right? Start of the playoffs and entire rest of the season. Like, say it's like, has to have wrist surgery. That's easily, he could be out until whatever, October next year. So we played it out both ways. So the postseason one is the more interesting one, because I think the Bucks are the most likely team to win the title. I think they're a little more likely than Boston, and I'm sure some people like Boston more. That's fine. It's more just like personal preference. It's like one of the two of them, and then it's probably like Denver and Phoenix out west are going to play each other in the conference finals. Maybe Golden State has another run in them. Maybe they don't. And so it's more fun if he's out for the postseason, because then it's like, man, Boston to win the East immediately, like not even close, because that price is going to collapse. It's basically you're just asking yourself what prices are going to drop when Giannis is out for the rest of the season. So that was a more fun one. Then it started to become kind of obvious, like, well, maybe it's just the rest of the regular season and even part of the regular season. Okay, now what markets are affected? And this was like, for such a star player, it was so boring to play everything out and be like, what's affected by this? So basically every site that offered an adjusted win total for the Bucks pulled it days ago. Like, this was not even a yesterday thing. Seeds, Eastern Conference #1 seed, all that got yanked. So you can't bet on any of that stuff. Like, MVP, he probably becomes a 0, but Jokic is going to win anyway unless he gets hurt. So that's like not even really a thing. I tried to make like a convoluted argument that because he's so important to their defense, Lopez becomes like zeroed out as a defensive player of the year candidate, maybe. Somebody else was like, well, maybe this helps him because now he's the only guy that's like playing, so he gets all the credit, which I actually think is like a reasonable argument. It just kind of tells me that we're probably both, not that we're both wrong, but that there's nothing to do, maybe. And then the division was like the last one that we talked about. And the problem is, and maybe if you just want to look up the records, Nick, for the two teams, the Bucks and the Cavs, and how many games that they have left. The problem with even betting Cleveland, so let's say the application is, well, you bet Cleveland to win the Central because now Giannis isn't going to play for a while. There just aren't that many games left. And this is also the second half of the season when tanking becomes a really real thing for like 8 teams maybe, or even more. And there's like 20 to 25 games left, depending on the team. Some teams have played 60. The Cavs have played 61 games already. So, and yeah, Nick's writing the stuff in our chat. Just like, I don't know if they can make up like, 4.5, 4 in the loss column, 5 in the loss column. Even if Giannis doesn't play, is this like a great bet that's going to age awesome? Or are the Bucks just going to kind of coast and then he comes back and then whatever? So really, really long explanation, but just would invite people. Like, those are the fun conversations. Like, well, what if this is the worst case scenario? What do I need to go bet either right when I think it's a thing or to get ahead of something? Because like, those are the valuable bets because the price is going to move so hard in your favor when the news becomes like really public. So we almost had one of those. We almost did. And then it was kind of like ended up being a little bit of a nothing burger, I think.
Yeah. Burger sounds delicious right now.
Just awesome. Right when I said it, I was like, nothing burger. That sounds good.